The hook is on the door. Her head is being held on by a ribbon, and the raven stops talking. I'm Douglas Fern. Join us as we lift the veil on the spirit world and dare to delve deep into our city's haunted past. On tonight's file, ghosts. Who are ghosts? What makes them tick? As Seattle's new souls clamor for new buildings and old structures crumble beneath, who's haunting who? Our terrifying tale begins at the beloved Harvard Exit movie theater, where thrills and chills were as common as popcorn kernels. Built in 1925, the building was originally used by the Women's Century Club before becoming a theater in 1968. Now, in 2015, the shimmering captains of the digital age are repurposing it as offices and eateries for the hardest working among us. That's less haunty, more worky. The theater indulged in its fair share of brain-softening snuff pulp, but not all of the terror was confined to the screen. Oh, I'm getting word that the Fact File's own veteran supernatural correspondent Rick Cold-Softserve is on site with George Kindl, reclusive projectionist and longtime manager at the Harvard Exit. Rick?
Can we replace his face with something else? At the time I started at the Harvard Exit, I was 28 years old. I was about 6'2", 140. Now I'm 47 years old. I'm 6'2", 175.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Categorically, no.
Were there spaces in the building that you preferred not to go to?
I did like to go to the women's room. It was a big, dirty basement, dusty, cobwebs. It was dark, unless you turned a light on. I didn't want to stay there after hours. Even though I don't believe in ghosts, it's just creepy being there after hours. There would be tons of crazy people hanging around all the time. There was Abby who would come in. She was a little OCD or something. She would always come down first to ask you to turn it up, and you say, okay, I'll go turn it up, and you would just walk away, and you wouldn't turn it up, but she wouldn't complain anymore. And then if there was a little bit of picture on the curtain, she would go over and she would pull the curtain all the way out. If you didn't see her coming in, you'd know, oh, Abby's here.
Was it a ghost?
Oh, and then there was steak dinner. He would look at the Showtime sheet, and then he would figure out when the movie was getting out, and then he knew the back doors would be open, and then he would sneak in while other people were leaving in the back door. And then one time I was working at the front door, and he came up to me, and he's like, hey, man, come out here. I'm like, well, I'm not going out there. He's like, come on, man, come on. I'm like, I'm not going out there. He's like, come on. You know, I kind of like you, man, you know. I'll take you out for a nice steak dinner. And he pulls this like $10 bill out of his dirty ass sweatpants, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out.
Clarify, all these people were ghosts.
These people were all ghosts. They were spirits in the material world.
As manager,
The exit story was the woman killed herself, and you know, some variation of like people would see a woman in a Victorian dress, or it would be a young girl, or you know, some type of woman. She was supposed to be Bertha Landis, who was the first female mayor of a major city, and she founded the Women's Century Club. One staff girl who insisted that she went into the bathroom, and she was in one stall, and the other stall like slammed shut and locked, and there was no one in there, and she came running out like, oh. Windy bathrooms.
Well, certainly not your best work, Rick, but I've still got goosebumps.
Well, when I sat down with George, I heard hair-raising tales of the paranormal, stories which left me hungry for more information. After conducting further research on ancestral memory and global cultures, I was able...
Well, let's stay focused there, Rick. Fire up the Batmobile, Lucy, because we've got some splunking to do. It's all hands on deck and goblins in the graveyard as we head off to Seattle's most haunted public space, Martha Washington Park. Rick, my spectrometer is throwing off some serious juice right now. Why might that be?
Well, Douglas, here on the lapping shores of Lake Washington in South Seattle, once stood the infamous Martha Washington School for Troubled Girls. It ran from 1920 until 1971, when it closed after pressure from neighborhood residents.
Hey there, Spielberg. Eyes back on us. All right, Rick, enough with the dusty textbook stuff. Less chitty, more bang.
Heinous rumors have swirled for decades about a murderous janitor and students driven to suicidal depression. Suicide, that is. One girl actually hung herself sometime in the post-war period. Neighbors have also reported that they've seen certain...
Rick, I understand that the paving stones from the school were actually reused as tombstones, and some may be haunted. How creepy is that?
I don't think that's true. The building was demolished a year after it was closed. There have been reports of occult activity on the building, but as of now...
Jeez, shit! It's just a Parks Department mopper, Rick. We'll save our screams for the real ghosts. Not everyone has the composition it takes to pursue the supernatural. And stay with me, Rick. Hey, there's nothing practical about these jokes, Rick. Let's stay focused. Sweet Jesus.
Earlier, I swore to you that I'd learned to love Seattle's ghosts like my sisters. But these specters run wild across public land, and not even glamorous new homes can contain them. The past refuses to slumber in its shallow grave. For the rest of us, good night.